Okay, so this is the solving equations algebra. This is the second part of it. Broke up that lesson into two parts. So here's the first question. What if the variable x is on the bottom? And it's a little bit trickier to deal with, but we can still do some similar thing what we've done. So the first thing we want to do is we actually do something called cross multiplication, then do the story of x. So look at this for a second. Another way to think about it is it's 18 divided by x, right? So we're dividing by x in this case. So the opposite would be to multiply by x, right? So if you look at this one, this is the cross multiplication. You'll hear this term a lot in math as you go through the next grades. So we multiply both sides by x. So what happens here is we have divided by x and we multiply by x. Those are gone. They just reduce down into 1. So we end up with 6x equals 18. So what we do is we end up with this thing right here, 6x equals 18. That's cross multiply. Another way to look at it is 6 times x, right, is 6x right here. And 18 times 1, because there's a 1 under that 6, we just don't write it in, is 18. So another way to look at that is, yeah, there's cross multiply. See that it forms a cross right there. So then we have 6x equals 18. Now we can do the story of x. So what happens to the x here? Well, there's a 6 attached to it, and the 6 is attached by multiplication, right? There it is. So multiplied by 6. So what's the opposite? We divide by 6. And this is where we start right here. Okay? So we divide both sides by 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1. Then reduce down. X is by itself. And then 18 divided by 6 is 3. So when you have a variable on the bottom, you can cross multiply first. And it doesn't matter to me how you do it. There's two ways of doing it. And then you can still do the story of x. So we end up with x equals 3. Now, let's check again. Left side equals right side. So 6 equals 18 divided by x. 6 equals 18 divided by 3. Yeah, we substitute the 3 in where the x is. 6 equals, and 18 divided by 3 is 6. So left side equals right side. So we know we did it correctly. Okay. Now, the next part of this is two-step equation. So now we're moving on. All of those other ones were the one-step, except for the last one because we had to cross multiply first. But these ones are two steps, but we approach it the same way. So what we have here is we have 3x plus 2 equals 5. So 3x plus 2 equals 5. Again, we do the same thing. What's the first thing that happens to x? Well, if you look, x right here has a 3 attached to it, and the 3 is attached by multiplication. So the first thing is you multiply by 3. So what's the opposite? Well, we're going to divide by 3, right? And you'll see the steps work out in a second. Then what happened to x is we add 2, right? So add 2. So what's the opposite of adding 2? Well, subtracting 2. Well, now, we have two things on here, and we got to figure out the order. The order is always right, start at the bottom here and work your way up. So we start here with the subtract 2 and then divide by 3. That's the order we're going to do stuff in. Subtract 2, divide by 3. So we go back up to the equation, and we subtract 2 from both sides, right? Remember, because it's algebra, you have to do left side equals right side. Subtract 2, subtract 2. The 2 subtract 2 here, these cancel because there's 0, right, because we're getting rid of them. So we end up with just 3x equals 5 subtract 2 is 3. So now we're down to this step here. Well, what's the next step? We did the subtract 2. Now we're going to divide everything by 3. So we divide left side by 3, right side by 3. 3 divided by 3, these reduce down to x. And 3 divided by 3 is 1. We know that, right? So x equals 1. Is that the right answer? Well, we can check by doing the substitution on the left side, right side. So left side, right side. Put your part of your equation down here. Put your equals and then your answer here. And all we're going to do is we're going to substitute in. What are we going to put for x in? X is 1. Let's substitute in 1. So 3 times 1 plus 2 equals 5. 3 times 1 is 3. Then plus 2 equals 5. 3 plus 2 is 5. So 5 equals 5. Left side equals right side. We know we did it correct. And remember, our answer is x equals 1. Okay. Flip to page, it will be page 10 there that we're working through. This one is negative 2x minus 3 equals 7. Two-step again, but we do the same thing. So the first thing is what's attached to this x? Negative 2. How is it attached? Multiplication. Remember when they're side by side. Don't think that this is like subtract 2. That's not what it is. It's negative 2x. The x has a negative 2 attached to it by multiplication. So there it is there. Multiply by negative 2. The opposite is divide by negative 2, right? Then we have the negative 2x minus 3. So we have minus 3. That's the next thing that happens to x. So the opposite is add 3. Well, where do we start? Kids always want to know this. Well, where do I start? Do I start with the negative 2 or do I start with a 3? Well, you start right at the bottom here where the arrow is. You're going to add 3 to both sides. Then you're going to divide by negative 2. So first off, let's add 3 to both sides. So plus 3 plus 3. So these cancel out. And you're left with negative 2x equals 7 plus 3 is 10. So negative 2x equals 10. Then the next step is to divide by negative 2. So we're going to divide both sides by negative 2. So divide negative 2, divide negative 2. These negative 2's reduce down. And 10 divided by negative 2 is negative 5. So here's our answer. X equals negative 5. Is that the answer? Well, we check by left side and right side. Substitution. So we go left side, right side, write down the equation, and in this case, we're going to substitute in where there's an x, we're going to replace it with a -2. Now, careful, remember, the -2 times x when they're side by side. So -2 times -5 minus 3 equals 7. -2 times -5, negative times the negative is positive. Subtract 3, yeah, 7. So 7 equals 7. Does the left side equal the right side? Yes, it does. So we know our answer is correct, and our answer was x equals -5. Okay, next page. Now, sometimes we're going to throw x's all over the place. It doesn't matter. The first thing you got to do is you got to collect them all together. Right? All these x's are scattered all over the place. We're going to collect them together, then we're going to do the story of x. So it's not that difficult to do here, right? It's just basic polynomials. So we have here a 7x and an x. Well, those are the same things. It would be like going for 7 x-rays and then going back for another x-ray. You end up having 8 x-rays. Okay, so we add those together. So here's our next line, -9 plus 8x equals 7. Now we can do the story of x. So let's look at x. What's the first thing that happened to x? Well, we multiplied by 8. So the opposite is to divide by 8, right? We multiplied by 8, then we divide by 8. Then we have a -9 here. And it's kind of tricky because the -9 is out the front. Well, we're basically subtracting 9 right out the front here. So we subtract 9. Well, it's the opposite. We're going to add 9. Okay. Now, where do we start? Well, we start right here where the arrow is. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to add 9 to both sides. Add 9, add 9. And you can see how I wrote them down here. These 9s here cancel out because they're 0. And then we have just 8x equals 7 plus 9 is 16. Okay. And then the next step is we divide both sides by 8. So divide by 8, divide by 8. We put them underneath there. You can put a line there if you want, or the division symbol. It makes no difference. 8 divided by 8 is 1, right, because they reduce down. And then 16 divided by 8 is 2. Is x equal to the right answer? Well, we test by doing left side and right side. Left side, right side, write down the original equation. You can see I actually wrote the original 7x plus x. I mean, you could have written 8x there if you wanted to, but let's break it down. So we're going to substitute, and wherever there's an x, we're going to substitute in a 2. So -9 plus 7 times 2. Remember, they're side by side, so it's 7 times 2, and then plus 2. And then remember, BEDMAS comes into play, right? We do our multiplication first. So -9 plus 14 plus 2 equals 7. And we do all the math here. -9 plus 14 plus 2 is 7. Right? And then 7 equals 7. So we know we did it correctly because the left side equals the right side. Right? Right there. So when we're doing this, what I expect you to do is you're going to do the math here on the left-hand side here. And this story of x, you're going to do for the first couple times just to get used to it. And are you going to check your work? Yeah, you're going to check your work for the first couple times. And then after that, once you start getting them right, you won't have to do this substitution method anymore. Okay, next page. Oh, a little trick here. Throw some more x's out there, but same pattern. So we have 18 equals 3x plus 4x minus 3. So what we can do is we can take this 3x and this 4x and collect them first. Collect them into this. And so 3x and 4x is just 7x. So our next line is 18 equals 7x minus 3. Well, let's do the story of x. First thing that happens to x is it gets multiplied by 7 right there. So the opposite of multiplying by 7 is divide by 7. Then we subtract 3. So we subtract 3, so the opposite of that is add 3. And where do we start? We start right here. So the first thing we're going to do is add 3 to both sides. So add 3, add 3. So 18 plus 3 is 21. Yeah. These 3's over here cancel because -3 plus 3 is 0, and we're left with positive 21 equals 7x. Then the next thing we do is we divide both sides by 7. Left side, divide by 7. Right side, divide by 7. These 7's reduce down to 1, or x by itself, and 21 divided by 7 is 3. Well, is that the right answer? Probably getting tired of me saying that. Check it out with left side equals right side. So left side, right side, write down the original equation. Wherever we see an x, we're going to plug in a 3. And remember, 3 times 3 and 4 times 3, because it's 4x and 3x. So BEDMAS again. So 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 3 is 12. We do this. 9 plus 12 minus 3 is 18. So 18 equals 18. Yeah, left side equals right side, right there. Left side equals right side. So we know that our answer is x equals 3. We know we did it correctly. Okay, now, next one. Well, sometimes you're going to get like 5 minus 3x plus x equals 19. It's just a variation on it again. Here's what some people do is they forget that there's a 1 in front of that, right? So put a 1 in there. Mathematicians are kind of lazy and they never write it in as they go along, but you can put a 1 in there if you want in front of that x. So the first thing we're going to do is the collect like term. So we have -3x plus x. And it's just like you would normally do. -3 plus 1 is -2. So -3x plus 1x is -2x. You just treat it exactly the same way. So now we have 5 minus 2x equals 19. Story of x. First thing that happens to x, right, if you look, it's multiplied, remember, side by side, by negative 2. So we divide by negative 2, right? That's the opposite part of it. Then we have a positive 5 out the front, right here, positive 5. So then we minus 5. So where do we start? We start right here. We're going to subtract 5 from both sides. So 5 minus 5, 19 minus 5, yeah. So 5 minus 5, those are gone. They cancel. So then we end up with negative 2x equals 19 minus 5 is 14. So next step, we're going to divide by negative 2. Careful, we're dividing by negative 2. So negative 2x divided by 2 and 14 divided by negative 2. Right? These reduce down because anything divided by itself is 1. And 14 divided by negative 2 is negative 7. So is our answer correct? It's negative 7. Well, we check by doing left side and right side. So left side, right side. Write down the formula, the equation, plug in, wherever you see an x, you're going to plug in negative 7. So it's negative 3 times negative 7 plus negative 7. Now, if you notice, I wrote plus negative 7 in brackets because it kind of looks weird when you do plus negative 7 without the brackets. So you don't need them there, but it's helpful. Multiply first, remember, bed mass. So negative 3 times negative 7 is positive 21. So we have 5 plus 21 plus negative 7. That works out to 19 equals 19. Yep, we did it correctly. Left side equals right side. Okay? And now, hang on one sec. Last page. So this one, if you notice, there's nothing here. This one is a challenge for you. I want to see if you can do this. And I'll give you a hint, and then you can check back with me to see if you got it right. If you notice, this 6x and this 3x are on opposite sides. So the first thing we have to do when we have to collect like terms is get this positive 3x over to the other side. How would you get a positive 3x over to the side? Well, I'll give you a hint. You would subtract it, okay? So I want you to subtract 3x from both sides. Then you're going to have a line here. Then do the story of x. Do that one, and then you can check back with me either in class or you can send me a message on Teams or just send me an email, and I'll help you with that one, okay? So now you can do the questions that go with this. And there is a bunch of questions because you have to practice doing this to get good at it, okay?